Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Newsgram. Today, you are in for a real treat. And before we begin, I think it's important to point out that I'm about to take on a subject that is way over my head. Fortunately, we have a guest that can make a complicated subject like consciousness sound simple. Get ready for a philosophical perspective on consciousness, life, and the universe from a former reconstructive plastic surgeon who's turned artist, sculptor, and author. His name is Dr. Anthony J. Emmett.
The world is at a stage where it needs to understand more of the spiritual side of life. I have been affected by this since childhood, and I have been a surgeon, a reconstructive plastic surgeon, and I have retired from that and retrained as an artist. And during that time, I spent 2 years going through my past lives with a clairvoyant and Sathya Sai Baba from India, who provided the scenes that I saw. And the purpose of this was to prove to myself that I was an eternal spirit, that I'd been around for a long time.
His new book is Your Unique Consciousness, The Eternal Path of Life, and in it he explores consciousness as an eternal force. It explains the mystery of who we are, where we come from before birth, and where we go after death. And it's a lot, but you'll understand what he's saying as soon as you buy into the fact that we are all eternal beings created by God to love one another and to grow spiritually.
We, as a species, need to understand that we are eternal spirits with a body. We are here for a time. We are here to play the games of life on this stage of Earth. And we shouldn't knock it around too much before we leave.
I don't know about you, but I'm old enough to remember back in 1976 when the band Rush released their live album, All the World's a Stage. And while they weren't a spiritual band in a religious sense, they did explore some deep themes like individualism, free will, existentialism, mythology, and the human experience. And they've had me thinking about these things for a very long time. But Dr. Emmett takes it to a new level by simplifying the idea of consciousness.
The thing is that consciousness is an energy like electricity. Science can't detect it or measure it, and yet we have it.
If you're now asking, well, if we can't detect it, then how do we even know it's there? Then you're beginning to ask the right questions. The simplest answer is that it's all part of God's plan. We can see it working in our subconscious and our unconscious mind every day. Our unconscious mind is at work while we're dreaming.
The unconscious mind will make your body work, tell your bowel which way to go, activate your heart, and it does many things.
On the other hand, our subconscious mind is at work while we're awake.
For example, the image coming from your eye is upside down, and in your subconscious you convert it to right way up. It's upside down because you've only got one lens in your eye. Nature could have chosen to have a two-lens eye and a right way up image going to the brain. Instead, it uses the simpler eye and with a computer to convert it to right way up. But the computer doesn't, that's our unconscious mind, doesn't only turn the image the right way, it deletes what we don't want to see.
I find all of this really interesting, but you might still be saying, yeah, Sam, but if science can't detect or measure consciousness, how do we really know it's real? Well, he thought the same thing, so he went to southern India on 3 different occasions to seek the wisdom of Sai Baba, who transitioned from this earth back in 2011.
But he's still around in that plane. There are various planes of reality with different, the atoms are at different vibrational frequency. There are other dimensions around this one. And just as we have different levels of consciousness, which function at different vibrational wavelengths or frequencies. I had to prove to myself it was real. And having done that, Sai Baba has taught me a great deal about all of that. And I can't prove it, but it's real, and I've seen it. And I'm an experienced observer, so I knew what I was looking at.
He isn't the first person to mention the existence of multiple dimensions. In fact, I've heard it so many times that, at least for me, there's no question about it. But like he said, you can't prove it, but they are there. Let's move on, because he has a great explanation for how and when consciousness descends upon us as human beings.
When we're being formed in our mother's uterus or womb, at 2 or 3 months or maybe later, the exact time varies, but consciousness comes in, and it's an energy that comes into the brain to create the mind. And the mind is what we're using now in this conversation. But of course, consciousness has this ability to be at different levels. Everything in the world is conscious. The planet is conscious. And we need to remember that. Everything has a level of consciousness. We have no way of measuring that, but it's true.
Consciousness is one of life's great mysteries, and it can be hard to explain. You could say it's kind of like the light inside you that helps you know you're alive. It's what makes you feel happy when you see a friend or excited when you learn something new. Everything has some kind of consciousness, and it can be very simple and it can be very deep. It's a special kind of energy that connects everything in the universe, just like the wind moving through trees or waves moving through water. I can't tell you exactly what it is, but it is one of the most amazing mysteries of being alive.
Subsequently, I've written many books about consciousness to try and point out to people that we each are an eternal spirit, that what we do here is added to the sum total of what we have done in eons past. And whereas our civilization mostly doesn't believe in previous lives, I spent 2 years going through it to prove to myself that it was real. And so I described this in different ways in different books. And I've had many lives of great interest, but I won't bother you with them because they're interesting.
Dr. Emmett's experiences with past lives are fascinating, but at the heart of his work is something even more universal: consciousness itself. And that's where I want to stay focused, because his perspective on the nature of consciousness is so interesting, just like his perspective on the healing power of love. He believes love isn't just an emotion, it's a force for healing, woven into the very fabric of our consciousness.
Every cell in the body is conscious. And you, by the attitude you hold in your mind, influence their behavior. You can make yourself well by being happy. Broadcast happiness to the cells. Your cells will respond by making you well and happy. In 1960, I was working in a plastic surgery unit in England. In the burns ward, we had a 10-year-old boy with a 70% burn, which in those days was a death sentence. So we excised 30% and replaced it with skin from our skin bank. We had a skin bank in a refrigerator, and we also had donor sites. We could take split skin grafts from other parts of his body. Anyway, all of this was doing well surgically, but he was dying. It had just been too much for him. So we got his mother in to live in the next room so she could give him love. Now, the love that she gave him, he started to turn around. He stopped dying. He started getting better. And he lived to leave hospital and be rehabilitated. But the love that his mother gave him was the strongest medicine. It was stronger than anything we could give him. So love is the most important thing in life.
Yes, and in his book, he explains the many different kinds of love. To quote directly from the book, he says, "Love is the totality of divine creation. Love is the power that holds the universe in being." So in my opinion, the Beatles were definitely onto something. All you need is love just might be more profound than we ever realized. So where did we come from? And where are we going? It's different for each of us. We are all eternal, and we are each made up of a culmination of lives and experiences that have thus far made us who we are. That's why it's so hard for me to identify the meaning of life. It is literally different for all of us, but we do share some commonalities that might help make defining life's meaning a little bit easier. And the big one is love. Love can heal, and happiness can drive us in the right direction. Love is really so important.
You know, when a child is born, it has to learn love in its first 2 years, and that gets put into the self-image, which is held in the subconscious. The self-image the child builds up with the way parents treat it, the relatives, the way they treat each other. All of this becomes part of the self-image held in the subconscious. So we form this self-image really as we learn love in the first 2 years of birth. So people should understand that the love they give to the child in the first 2 years will be a distinct formative influence on that child through its subconscious for the rest of its life. These things don't just get forgotten, they get filed in deeper levels of consciousness.
Your consciousness is eternal. It's not just about the thoughts you have every day, but also what's stored deep in your subconscious. That part of you connects to something much bigger, eternity, God, the source of all love. And every night when you sleep, you tap into that deeper realm. Consciousness exists at so many different frequencies, and we're always shifting between them.
God is universal consciousness, absolute consciousness. And in the beginning was the Word. The Word was consciousness.
Dr. Emmett is one of the most interesting people we've ever had here on Newsgram. He is a retired plastic surgeon who sculpts in metal and clay. He is a teacher and an author, and someone I believe we could learn a great deal from. Here's a summary of consciousness from the introduction of his book. We live this life in our body-level consciousness, a unique one-off code which comes into the body as it develops in its mother's uterus and serves for the duration of the body's life. This connects into our other conscious levels operating at different frequencies or wavelengths. The sleep level we know well. It gives daily advice and helps us to correct our mistakes by seeing the other side of things. The subconscious level we use every day, a backup system for everyday conscious thinking and doing. It contains your self-image, which forms from early childhood and before and guides what you want to be. The higher consciousness is there in your conscious mixture, but its frequency is too high, and you must let it come to you in response to seeking or prayer. It contains the divine energy we call God. With death of our body, we change the frequency and dimension of our consciousness as we move on in spirit energy levels or planes, described by many who have written on near-death experience.
I think I came to this life as a teacher.
I don't think there's any question about that. I hope you're enjoying this edition of Newsgram as much as I enjoyed writing it. Dr. Emmett has so many interesting stories that I could have turned this into a 3-hour documentary. So rest assured he will be back, because I plan to delve into another one of his books called Power of the Mind. But for now, I invite you to check out Your Unique Consciousness, The Eternal Path of Life. It's available online at all kinds of places, including Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Now that you know you have an all-pervading higher intelligence within your unique, many-layered consciousness, how are you going to employ it? Thanks for listening to this edition of Newsgram from webtalkradio.com.